Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Charles from the channel Books on Stereo, and I'm here today to bring you guys another interview. This one has been a long time coming, and I feel really bad because we filmed this interview back in 2022, and then literally the worst thing that could ever happened is that my video, especially my video portion of the interview, the audio got out of sync with actual video. So it took me like at least 2 days to try to fix the issue, but luckily I think I got it. Let me know that it's slightly out of sync, but it should be pretty much close to where you wouldn't notice. But now that I'm telling you that it's there, you probably will notice a little bit. But let's get into the interview. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Charles from channel Books on Stereo, and I'm here today with one of my favorite narrators here today. I have the one, the only Gregory Salinas. First off, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to be having you on my channel. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is how did you kind of get into narrating audiobooks? Was this something that you always wanted to do, or was it something that you kind of just stumbled into?
So, I guess that really goes back to when I was a kid. I really wanted to be an actor. I was in theater groups and such and everything. I even went to a magnet performing arts school, which I was in instrumental music, not musical theater yet. But I did audition for the plays and such. And then I got into college, and even though I wanted to be an actor so bad, I was like, how can I make a career out of this? So I decided to be an English major, and I thought I'd become a professor. Um, but long story short, I decided I did not want to do that, and I actually left college before I graduated, um, deciding is like, this just isn't for me. I don't know what I want to do. I got a little office job for a while, and my mom, who's British, she has a really nice voice, and she said, "Hey, I really want to take this class. It says guaranteed work." So it was. There are a lot of great classes out there, but this one was $6,000 guaranteed work afterwards. I was a little questioning that, and I said, "Here,
Yeah.
I will do a demo for you." And she said, "Only if you do one as well." So I did, and the next day I got a call back. And I was like, okay, let's try audiobooks. 8 months later, I quit my desk job and went for it full time. And I've been doing it for almost 10 years now.
And how did you kind of specifically find yourself in the romance genre? Since I feel like that's where you're most prolific and where a lot of people may know you from.
That's true. So my first couple of books were, well, my first book was a mystery romance, more mystery, but had a little bit of romance on the side. And then my second book was a straight up erotica. And I didn't know you could do a pseudonym, so I didn't do a pseudonym. So I kind of, so I kind of stuck with that. Um, and then an author, Jane Ryland, she reached out to me on my ACX profile, and she said, "Hey, I would love to work with you. Can you audition for me?" So I auditioned for her, and she goes, "Yes, let's do this." Um, and it happened to be that she was coming to an event called Wild Wicked Weekend, which was hosted in San Antonio, Texas, which is where I'm from. And so I was like, "Let's go to that convention. Let's see what it's like." And so I met so many romance authors there. I met Carrie Ann Ryan, which she was amazing, and she gave me more work there as well. And the best story I can think. Sorry, getting excited about this.
No, you're
The
fine.
best story I can think of is that I was at a dinner with a bunch of romance authors, and they said, "Oh, you're a narrator. Would you mind coming up to our room? We have a bunch of books, and read for us." And I was like, "Yeah, let's do that." So I went upstairs to a hotel room with a bunch of authors, cold reading these books. And it was really funny because I think a lot of them hadn't had their books in audio yet, and so they were hearing their words read aloud, and they were laughing and joking. It's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I wrote that," and it was really funny. And they're like, "Oh wow."
Oh,
And so I was like, "Yeah, please let me know if you want to work with me." And I worked with like 3 authors from that event alone, and I just kind of got, I don't want to say stuck in romance. I kind of embraced romance. It was so good to me. And I think one of the best parts about romance is I need that happily ever after. I need to know that I'm going to get a good ending out of my books. There's so much all the time that is like, oh, it's so depressing, or other stories that are so depressing. Like, I want that guaranteed happily ever after. And so I love romance for that reason. And just because it has the happily ever after doesn't mean it's not going to be dark. I'm pretty known for dark romance. So,
I was curious as well, taking us a little bit into your recording process. Like, how does it look like for you when you first get the manuscript up until when you hit the booth to start recording?
when I first get the manuscript, I'm going to be honest. When I first started, I didn't know I was supposed to prep the book. So I was cold reading a little bit, which did cause some issues where I didn't know a character had an accent or something. And like I said, when I started, I was very, very, very green and just did not know what I was doing. And like I
Yeah.
said, I had very patient authors with me. Um, but now when I get it, the first thing I do is I just read it. I skim through everything. Like I need to know names, any names that are odd, especially in fantasy romance or paranormal. Um, Names that I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce, and never ever assume. My best example is, without giving away a name, is there's a name Kevin. It's Kevin. There's no other way to pronounce that name. And then I get pickups and it says Kevin. I'm like, oh. So now I now I make sure, is this name really Ashley? All right, we're good. All right, yes.
We're good.
But I like to prep a lot of those. I actually just did a book that is not out yet. I believe I can talk about it. My wife is behind me, and she's going to give me the go to ahead. Hate Zone. Yes. Okay. So Hate Zone
We have the yes.
by Blue Nose Audio. And it's a rom com. And I prepped the book, and there's a scene in there, and the female lead says, "Talk to me in Spanish." And I'm like, okay, I can do this. I don't speak Spanish, but I have a Spanish background. My dad's Mexican. I use his the accent that he raised me on and such and everything. I was like, okay, I can do this. I'm familiar enough. And then the male lead says, "Only if you talk to me in French." So I am prepping this scene with two languages I do not speak, trying to translate everything and really, really know. And the best part is that the male lead, he doesn't know if the female lead speaks any Spanish at all. So he starts saying weird phrases like, "You wear the shoes of a duck." And I was like, this is a really weird thing to say in Spanish. And so this scene was like 3 pages long of me speaking Spanish and French back and forth, having no idea what was being said. And I prepped that before I recorded. And the chapter is only 10 minutes long. I think that chapter took me an hour to record to make sure all my dialect was correct. But yeah, definitely check out that. That's going to be coming out next year. The Hate Zone by Gigi Bloom. It was one of the funniest books I've read. It's a closed door romance rom com.
Too, I'm curious. I know, like, with so many audiobooks coming out, I know your schedule's probably getting busier and busier. Do you ever have to overlap in terms of like recording projects, or you do keep it pretty much one book at a time that you're actually actively recording?
So I try to do one book at a time. I really don't try to overlap. There may be a day where I'm finishing a book and then I'm starting the next book, but I never ever overlap the same books. Reason being, I did it one time, and it was a one time I did a children's book, and then and then in the afternoon I was doing an erotica book. I started using my children's voice inside the erotica, and it's like, and he took off her
Oh no.
panties, and you're like, oh, maybe I need to change this up. I'm like, yeah, we're not going to do that.
I know.
My head just doesn't work that way. I can't switch. I can switch characters back and forth easily, but for some reason, uh 2 books at the same time, I can't quite do that. No.
Too, I'm wondering as well, with so many different audiobooks like you see different from different companies, like audiobook, sorry, art, like narrators having their own publishing companies producing their own audiobooks, from like publishers to your traditional publishers to indie authors doing it themselves. Have you seen like an increasing diverse array of work in terms of like authors or genres that are coming your way that you wouldn't have seen probably a couple of years ago?
You know, I'm not sure. Um I know the best way I can put it is different publishers that I work for or different production companies. Um, I seem to know that I'm going to be given certain styles of books. Like with one publisher, they primarily give me dark romance. With another publisher, they primarily give me rom-com for some reason, which I'm very very happy with. Even though I see them producing dark romance, and even though I see my dark romance publisher produce rom-com, for some reason those publishers can only see me in that certain light. I'm always happy to get other things, but I don't know if I've seen a variety. I've seen, I don't know. The best way I can say it is that they've seen something in me and they give it to me, and I'm very happy with that. Trying to like give like a very nice easy
Hey,
answer.
that's fine. I guess an extension of that question is, would you like now that you work with publishers, you work with indie authors as well, do you find that you can answer this from both ways? Do publishers or authors kind of when they think about a project, do they think of you in mind, especially like an author's writing a book? Do they say to you, "Hey, I imagine your voice for this character," or do they write to some of your strengths that you notice when you're reading the book, and they kind of like the two and two kind of coincide?
So I have one indie author who definitely says she writes to my voice, and that makes me so happy to hear.
Yeah.
Actually, scratch that. I have two indie authors that write to my voice now after I did their audiobook. And it's so flattering, and it's really really interesting because when I actually get the piece, I'm like, I don't sound like that. I would never say that. How can but they
Like, what must they think of me when they're writing
yeah.
this?
But I'm really really happy to have that. So yes, I would say that people do write to me every now and then. But there are certain books that feel like were written for me, which weren't. The one I just did, "Her Soul to Take" by Harley LaRue, I felt like that was written for me. I loved it. I felt,
You can tell.
yeah, I just slipped
It
into
was
the
a good
character.
match. I was like, I couldn't have picked a better person to voice the male hero. I was like, this is perfect casting.
Thank you, thank you. That's one of my favorite books of this past year.
And two, I wanted to ask, with like dual narration, duet narration, and full cast narration becoming more and more popular in the romance space, do you have one that you prefer more to do, or one that you see that you're getting more opportunities to do?
So I've done all of those. I prefer dual narration. That's my favorite way to go. I really really like the bounce off of each other of between the chapters. However, I did do some recent duets by L. Thorpe, and they were phenomenal. I did them with Michelle Price, and she's a narrator who she just reached out to me on Instagram with voice messages. Goes, "Hey, I'm doing this voice like this. Is that cool with you?" But I've never had this before. We usually like email back and forth some voice samples, but Instagram was really good
Yeah.
to just have it back and forth right away. I was like, "Hey, yeah, I'll do it like this. Okay, I'll do it like this," and that was really really fun. Full cast narration is phenomenal. Whenever I get a chance, I will do that. I do a lot with oh gosh, I can't remember right now. The Midnight Fae Academy series, Winter Fae. I can't remember the authors. Oh, they're gonna kill me.
Lexi? Is
Yeah,
that
it's
Lexi?
Lexi.
Lexi C. Foss?
Yes, Lexi
Okay,
C.
I got
Foss.
you.
Thank you so much. I'm like looking. And they they are amazing. Because I've done it with oh god, I can't remember all the narrators I've done, but I have like a list. I have a script, and it's highlighted with green, yellow, red, blue, whatever, and I'm looking all over, and I just look at the green lines, and well, I don't. I read the whole thing, but I just read the green lines aloud. And when I get to hear the finished product of us sounding like we're all having a conversation, it's just like I said, phenomenal. I love it. If I had to say my favorite thing, though, I know what my favorite thing is. While I love dual narration, my favorite thing to do is duet, but in a session like this. So StreamYard or Discord. I did a book series and or one book by Becca Steele with my co-narrator Stephanie Nemeth Parker, and we were on Discord and we did open record. So that means both of us just hit record and we just go. And every time we stop, we hit our dog clicker, and we don't stop. We just keep on reading the chapter, and it was like being in a live play. We were reading, we were bouncing off each other. We were just so in sync with each other. So I would say my favorite way is duet narration if we're actually in the same room, and that can mean online. Haven't got to do that too many times, but that was special. That was truly a special book. And what was that book? Got it. I got it right now. Trick Me Twice by Becca Steele.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
But I do want to ask you, with I would say with the explosion of audiobooks, you definitely have seen a very interesting trend where the narrator becomes just as popular, if not even a bigger deciding factor, and for readers picking up audiobooks. And now with social media and like fans can engage with you on social media, how has that changed your career as an audiobook narrator from like a couple years ago up until now?
So for me, it hasn't yet. I'm more focused on the in-person conferences and such and everything. I'm trying to get better at social media. I'm just terrible about it. I'm actually going to be meeting somebody to talk how to do social media and such and everything. But I've met people that are super, super popular on TikTok and Instagram and such, and how they respond to fans and or just other narrators and how they respond to publishers to get more work. It's fascinating. Um, I get a fan message here or there, and it's really really cool. And I respond, and I'm just happy to have them and just say thank you for listening. If you like that book, check this one out. Even if I didn't narrate it, I'm just as much of like a fan of other authors as anybody else, and so I'm like, just check out these books. I wish I had a better answer for you on that.
Really great springboard into my next question. What do you think of the trend of like narrators actually taking more of a stake in the audiobook industry by creating their own production companies, and how and has that changed if you have worked with any of these like Blue Nose or Lyric Audio? Has that changed your process, or you realize that things that narrators get more intuitively and they can structure their production process a little bit differently, or is there any really, or is there no difference?
You know, uh, there is a little difference. When I work with some publishers, they're really, really great, and they hand me a book, but they're very hands off, which is fine. I can reach out to them with some questions like, "Hey, I don't know how this character is supposed to be," and they might reach out to the author, or they might say, "Do your best." And I'm like, "Okay, if that's what you trust me on my process, that's great. I'm flattered." But the narrator run production companies, they're a little more hands on, not in a bad way at all. They just know how to connect with the author and with the narrators. They know a little bit more that I don't know what this is supposed to say, and if I can't say it, I want to reach out to the author, and we can't,
Mhm.
but we can reach out to our production company and say, "Hey, I'm a little lost right here. Can you help me out?" And they'll reach out to the author, and they usually get right back to us, and it's really really good. I had a really great experience with One Night Stand Studios with an audition, and there was something I wasn't quite comfortable with, and I said, "Hey, I'm not sure I'm the right choice." And they reached out to the author, and the author's like, "No, we'll work with this." And they got back to me, and it felt more cohesive, is that if that makes sense. And I was really really flattered, and I felt like I was part of a team, and that felt really really cool. Where some of the publishers, I feel like a private client, and that's fine too. I like both of them. But I would say there is a slight difference.
And two, I wanted to ask, this is my curveball question. I asked this of all my narrator interviews. I know there's been a discussion over the past couple months about AI narrated audiobooks or like auto generated audiobooks and how that could or maybe supplant human narrated audiobooks. And I just wanted your thoughts about that whole discussion. Do you think that is a possibility, or do you think it's just going to make people treasure those human narrated audiobooks even more?
Hmm. There's AI narration is it's just a problem. I've listened to it. Have you heard anything by Alistair? That's the
No, I
one of the
haven't.
popular AI narration narrators. And they don't quite get nuances. They don't quite do voices. They don't always quite get the pronunciation of certain words right. I remember reading an article about how Alistair kept saying sake instead of sake, for heaven's sake, for heaven's sake. And it was very, very interesting. Um, the other thing is that it's losing that personal human touch. I don't care for it. In fact, now with the Lenza and that other app right now with physical art, it just shows so much. One, AI is here to stay. We're going to have to deal with it. Um, and it does steal from artists. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. The best way I can say it is that I wish AI was used as a tool to help
Mm,
stuff. Like there is already on your phones, just to say, uh, read the text to speech, and you can just have it. That's perfect. That's great. That is a tool for people who need it. Um,
mm,
but to replace a narrator, that's hard. I don't think I'm too much at risk, but I think new narrators are. And I really I want to help new narrators. I always tell them go to Narrator Life, follow the narrator roadmap. If you're really serious about this, get coaching now, and get in now. But AI is here to stay, unfortunately, and it's going to hurt new narrators more than anybody else, I think.
And two, a great, really great follow-up question to that. You mentioned the idea of more acting instead of reading. Do you find that I know like from the past it used to be the idea that you just read the text and you don't act anything out, but what do you think that acting does to enhance the work rather than just straight reading the text as is?
Oh, you have to act out the text. There, just reading it is you're losing the soul of it. Uh, there's a reason that a lot of authors don't always narrate their own work, although I have heard some great authors narrate their work. Um, but there's there's this ability to bring the book to life. What you when I get the text, the first thing I do is I read chapter 1 and I read it again. I want to know how it's done differently. I want to know what these characters are thinking about at any time. And it can be even the busboy that's in the background. I want to know, why is he there? And I'm not talking like method acting. I'm talking about just understanding uh, the goals of everybody. I'm talking about, why is this word have an exclamation mark behind it? Is it really being yelled at? Or is it just being stern? Is the person feeling it? And could it be a whispered exclamation? Um, acting acting out the characters is just so important to me. One of the things I do, and this one is probably going to get me a little heat, is I cold read auditions. I cold read auditions. I want my reactions to be as authentic as possible. And I have gotten so many jobs because I've done that. But when I get the book, I do read the chapter twice. I want to know. I want to figure this out. I want those reactions to feel true now. I want them to not just feel raw, but true. And I truly believe that's how I get such I'm gonna toot my own horn. Good performances out, like Her Soul to Take. That was that was truly acted out. I hit my mic a couple of times. I do that all the time because I'm using my hands. Yeah,
Okay.
I have to redo those sentences. But um, acting is just important, and I wish I had. Gosh, I need to be more articulate. There's a reason I read
No,
other
you're
people's
fine.
works and not my own.
And I guess as a fun question, now shifting things a little bit over, what are some of your favorite audiobooks? These could be audiobooks that you have done or audiobooks that you just love in general that you think people need to listen to.
So right off the bat, I'm gonna. All right, so Her Soul to Take and Her Soul for Revenge by Harley LaRue. Those have been some of the most fun books I've done. Me and Desiree Ketchum, she was the female narrator for that book. We were texting back and forth saying how much we love this book. We were so excited for it. We even did a live on her fan page where we did it duet style. And it was really, really cool. We just could not get enough of this book series. And the third one is going to eventually come out. It's the Souls trilogy. I just don't know when.
Okay, I thought you were gonna let it slip like when.
No, I don't know.
So I was just waiting. I was like, I'm gonna let you
I don't
talk
know
and
if
let
I'm
me be
even
the
the narrator
dummy.
for it. I don't. But I if I am, that's awesome. If I'm not, I'm going to be reading that book like crazy still and listening to it. Um, let's see. But another book series is The Heir by Sophie Lark. I don't know if you've read that one yet.
Oh, I heard of that.
Okay.
I haven't. I haven't
The
yet.
best way I can describe it is it's Harry Potter, but instead of magic, it's mafia.
That is actually really good. That's a really good
it's
pitch. Like now I'm
it's really
interested.
good. At a certain age, the mafia children go to a college, which is also like a castle, and they have houses. So it's like accountants, how to cook books, how to launder money, enforcers, how to learn interrogation, torture techniques, how to guard, spies, how to keep an eye on the police, how to know what information's going around, what do people know, and four, the heirs, the people that are going to be the heir one day to these mafias. It's a wonderful book series. I couldn't get enough of it. I'm in 2 books of that series, The Heir and then The Bully. And I actually met Sophie Lark. She was at San Antonio for Wanderlust, and it was really, really cool. I waited in line. I waited in a long line. I wasn't going to use my celebrity to skip it.
Like I was a narrator of one of your audiobooks.
Actually, that's the funny story about that. I got up to her I put out my book for the Heir to be signed. Is like, "Hi, I'm Gregory Salinas," and she looked at me so sweetly. It's like, "Okay," and I was like, "Oh, you don't know who I am." It's like, "I narrated Dean for your books." She goes, "Oh," and she gave me a big hug, and she was all excited. But I guess I was expecting her to be like, "Wow, you're here." It was a great experience.
That's a great moment.
It was a little humbling. It was like, "Yep, yeah, I'm just the narrator." Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and let's see. There's so many books I want to talk about. I have a cheat sheet. The Minotaur by excuse me, The Minotaur by Sophie Ashe. I just did that with Heather Firth. That one is a post-apocalyptic or no, yeah, corrupt justice system. It's really weird. It's The Minotaur is a genetically engineered creature, not a mythological creature. It was really, really good, and there's a labyrinth, and people are sentenced to death by being put in there, until one day a woman is put in there, and the crime doesn't seem justified why she's in there, and it's a really great story. I would really, really recommend it. It was really funny. When I did, it wasn't funny, but the story is funny. Of the time I was reading The Minotaur, I was reading 2 other books, so 3 total, about minotaurs, and none of them were alike. Yeah.
Really?
Um, I do want to talk about Toxic Creek, by Casey Keene. That one, let's see. I did that with Casey Hollowell, and it's a great coming of age, dark romance, mystery. A girl's father is killed, and she's told she has to go away from this house. She can't live in this city anymore. So she's sent to this weird school, and she's being bullied. Oh yeah, it's a bully romance. But unlike other bully romances, she doesn't take it. She fights back right away. And it's really brutal. And I was like, oh my gosh, like one of the opening scenes was the mean girls come over to her, and she's like, oh, we're gonna make your life a living hell. And she just picks up her lunch tray and just smacks her across the face. And it was like, whoa. She goes, yeah, I'm not gonna deal with this shit.
That escalated.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm in. I love a strong female lead. Let's do this. I also did another book by L.K. Farlow called Sweet Little sorry. I have it.
No, you're fine.
It was the trilogy Pretty Little Thing. And this was my favorite of the trilogy. They're standalones, but they kind of exist in the same world. Basically, a guy goes to a strip club on a bachelor party, and he finds this stripper, and he's just kind of obsessed with her, and he keeps going back like every month to see her, sometimes every week, and he gets to know her more and more, and he's just like, I want to be with her. Well, she likes his attention, but she can't break that barrier. Well, she gets a new place at a new roommate. She goes over to her roommate's house, and the client is there. She's like, why are you there? Turns out her new roommate is his sister. It's beautiful. A great story. A sweet slow burn. Pretty Little Thing. I can't recommend that one enough. I actually did a scene for that in PJ Auckland's class. If you know PJ Auckland, he does master instructing and master coaching, and I was like, hey, I really, really want this to be perfect. And he usually is a very, very good and picks out my flaws, but this one he gave me like no notes. I'm like, oh yes. I was like, this is why I'm vibing with that book so much. So
these are all really, really, really great recommendations. And two, I wanted to ask, are there any upcoming projects that you can tease about that we can expect from you coming up very soon?
Tease.
Or unannounced audiobooks that haven't been
An
soon,
unannounced one?
that
Well,
are coming from you soon.
I definitely did eat The Hate Zone by Gigi Bloom.
Okay.
And then I'm looking at my Audible page right now, but that one is not on pre-order yet, so you're getting a little bit of a sneak peek, and I would just listen to it. The Hate Zone by Gigi Bloom. Let's see. I have quite a few good books coming out. The Sinful Empire series. So it's kind of a mafia romance, but with the port industry. And when I say port, I'm talking about like wine and such and everything. Really, really cool book series. I got it, and they said, "Can you do?" They asked me to do my Spanish accent, and I based that accent on my dad and his dad, and I grew up around that, and so I used that, and so the L.A. Ruthless series by Sadie Kincaid. That one is a great series as well. I cannot remember a detail about it, though. Like I said, I read a lot of books, and like you said, sometimes you forget the details. But you remember how the book made you feel. You remember if it was a good book or not. Yeah. Crushed by A.K. Evans. Really excited that I got to do that book. Because I got to work with Kit Swan, which is one of my favorite narrators. So it was really, really lucky. I just really excited about that one. That one's a military romance or ex-military romance. A lot of fun. Not going to give you a lot of details on that one because I'm afraid I will give away anything. But those are all the ones that are coming out right now. that I can talk about. I've got so many books in the pipeline and that I can't talk about right now. Let me give you uh,
Can you give us a
a
hint?
hint. Oh, okay. A sexy demon.
Okay, I can
A
work with
sexy
that.
demon. Yeah,
I can work with that and figure that one
you'll
out.
figure it out
I can figure that one
yeah,
out.
when it comes out. But just an idea of like how many books you have ready for me, waiting for me. I am booked up till August of next year. So,
Wow.
um, so yeah, definitely, yeah, keep that in mind. Um,
Okay, well, there's a lot that's going to be coming from
however,
you in the future.
However, I have learned to keep a week or two open for different publishers now. So I was booking up really really ahead, and then I was getting like people asking me like, "Hey, can we squeeze you in?" I was like, "I don't have any room." I've made room now to squeeze in. So if any publishers are watching this, no, I might be able to squeeze you in.
Final question too I want to ask you is like where can everyone find you? Like what are all your social media links? Are you on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok?
So
Let us all know.
let's see. I'm on Facebook, just Gregory D. Salinas. I'm on Instagram, voice.of.greg. Um, TikTok, which I plan on getting more into. I only have got one video up, and it's an ad, but it's a voice of Greggles. So definitely check me out there.
Greg,
And those are the only three. I never ever got onto Twitter. I'm not on Hive. I'm not on all the other ones. I'm not cool like that. I'm just the three: Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
I feel like that's all you need. That's like where everyone is. Everyone's on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. I refuse to because I'm like, I'm gonna spend way too much time if I get on that app. So instead, I watch YouTube compilations of
There you
TikTok.
go.
So
That's the way to do it.
am I really saving myself time? That's the way how you do it, how you cheat the system. But I wanted to thank you, Gregory, for coming on my channel. It's been such a great time talking with you. And for everyone who is watching the video, all his social media links will be down in the description box down below. So go follow him everywhere and go check out all the audiobooks that Gregory mentioned and recommended today. I'm going to be listening to them, but I just wanted to say thank you so much again for coming on my channel. It's been such a pleasure talking with you.
It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. This was great. I had so much fun.
Oh, that's good. And I hope you guys watching had a great time watching this video, and I'll catch you guys with another video. Bye, everyone.